This is Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas.
And I'm Heather Branch here with Mike, talking about ways that you can work to prepare for your financial future. And, of course, all the ways that Mike and his team are here to help you. You okay? How's it going? A little choky?
Man, how long can you hold a sneeze in? How long can you hold a sneeze in?
Was it a sneeze? Okay, if it was a sneeze, I allow it. But because I'm like, I have so many rules about the consumption of things when we're when we're here recording. Because I'm like, don't eat dairy for an hour. No carbonated soda.
No carbonated beverages. No ice in your Yeti.
I am the consumption police when it comes to our podcast.
And we started, and this sneeze hit my nose, and I was like, hold on. You can make it. You can make it. And the one time in my life it has to come out is right now.
As I was saying, LifePlanWealth.com it's where you can go to begin your own conversation with Mike and his team. Again, LifePlanWealth.com. Is it allergies? Is it a cold? You okay?
No, I don't know where it came from.
It was just.
It's like
Jesus,
you hit play.
Jesus took the wheel.
You hit record, and my nose is like, not today, son.
Okay. Well, sometimes you got to sneeze. I'm a lifelong allergy sufferer, so I'm very sympathetic to a sneeze. So you are forgiven this one. This recording disruption. You're welcome. I'm here for you.
It won't happen again unless it does.
I love how it's like, this is your podcast. I'm over here policing everything.
Yeah, just knock it off.
I'm trying to make it sound good, man.
Killing me, Smalls.
Killing me, Smalls. Thinking about, I feel like usually our conversations begin with something that we both love to do or have a mutual respect over. Yep. The travel element. Good God in heaven. The Douglas family is traveling this summer, though.
D6 Ventures. I mean, know it.
Listen, and I respect it, but I feel like you and I talk and we're emailing or messaging and trying to plan what we want to have conversations about in these podcasts. And you're like, well, I'm out of town from now until December 1st.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. It's great. So when are you going to get the job done so you can afford all of these? No. But of course, you're working all the time, too. That's the thing. That's the good balance that you and your family have figured out.
Yep.
But let's think about the travel bug because, I mean, I have to imagine that most of the people that come to you are super excited about all the travels they're planning to do, not just for themselves, but their families, their grandkids, and all these things in retirement years. They're like, we are finally getting vacation time.
Yep. I literally just met with someone the other day. She retired July 5th. And I said, so let's talk about it. Have you guys figured out any travel trips for the next year or two? Yeah. She goes, we're booked through 2026.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, we have our big trip and a fun trip every year from now through 2026.
Good for
Deposits down.
Good for her and them.
Yes.
That's very exciting to hear. It gives me hope and optimism for my retirement years, which is probably not going to happen for another 3 or 4 decades. I keep telling my husband, we can't afford to retire. We need to make more money. Right. A few years ago, this survey by Lincoln Financial was analyzing how we spend our money in retirement. Food, utilities, cars, mortgages, travel. They put it all in there, Mike. But the number one expense, 31 cents out of every dollar, went to... Any guesses? Taxes. Always. It was also, this is what's unfortunate, it was the biggest surprise to people in retirement. So, good sir, how did we figure this out? How did you help take this quote-unquote surprise out of the equation?
Well, it's never a surprise to the person who knows about it, right? It's kind of like, It's surprising to me how difficult
surprising it is to other people.
Well, like for me, what is a surprise to other people is obvious, right? So when we moved into our home, there's a pool at our house and I am mechanically declined. I don't fix anything.
Okay.
I'm very challenged in that area.
Okay.
And I walk over and I say, man, there's something that's not right with this place. And I'm like, why is this pool just not staying clean? My brother-in-law, he's a general contractor. He's extremely handy. He's very smart.
Got it.
He comes over and goes, well, have you checked the pump? I said,
What pump?
I have to be honest, Stephen, I don't know where the pump is. He goes, oh my gosh. And so then we go looking and he was like, well, here's the pump. I said, how do you know it's the pump? He goes, it's got a big motor and it's got this. He goes, that means
it's pumping water.
And he goes, that means this is probably your filter. And I'm like, well, how do you know that? He goes, well, it's a big cylinder tube and you probably have a cartridge filter. And the stuff that was just so amazingly obvious to him. Yeah. I had lived in this house for 3 weeks and I was like, you were here for 3 minutes and figured it all out. I don't know how to fix cars. And when he gets in a car with me, I said, hey, it's making this sound. He goes, yeah, your wheel bearing's bad. I'm like, well, how do you know that? He goes, because of the sound. I said, yeah, I heard it. And so we all have these things that we're just completely blinded by.
Yeah.
We have things that we're completely aware of. Yeah. And there's a reason why we do what we do. You know, we love what we do, hopefully, and we learn everything we can about that thing we do. And the stuff we don't like, we do everything we can not to learn about. We avoid it. We push it off. We delegate it. We outsource it, anything we possibly can. And for most people, taxes falls right into that area. We hate taxes. That's why we associate it with death. There's two certainties in life, death and taxes. And so we say taxes are the death. They're the worst. I hate them. I hate, you know, whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
They hate taxes. So not surprisingly, when we say talk about building your dream retirement, nobody wants to talk about taxes or how to calculate them in. And when we have those discussions, I say, you know, when you talk about the amount of income you want, how much do you need in retirement? And people have all different answers. People could say, I only need $5,000 a month. I need 7 or 10 or 12 grand a month, whatever the number is. And I say, okay, great. How much does it cost you to get $5,000 a month? And they say, $5,000. I say, no, you have only 401ks and IRAs. It's going to cost you like $6,000 or $7,000 to get the $5,000 because we have to withhold taxes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. But that shouldn't make a big deal. And then I show them our calculators over the years. And I say, well, over the next 35 years of your life, being wrong by $1,000 or $2,000 a month is a big deal. And we go through and clean those things up because not knowing the questions to ask, not knowing the things we don't know, that's why we have a specialist. That's why we have someone who is very, very skilled in those things that we don't want to talk about. And when we sit down with people, it always starts with this conversation about building a retirement roadmap. And a lot of people come to us, whether through the podcast or through TV or from our events, educational trainings, they always end up going through our website. We have lifeplanwealth.com. And right there towards the top, there's this button that says start your retirement roadmap today. They click that button. We schedule the time to chat because we have this list of questions. In the first couple questions, everybody knows the answers to. And the last couple of questions, nobody has the answers to. It doesn't matter whether they're an engineer, doctor, lawnmower, dog walker. It doesn't matter. Nobody has the answer to the last couple of questions. And that's why we're here. Is to make sure that we answer those questions we don't know to ask.
The first question that comes to mind is, well, what are those last questions, Mike? Tell us. Like, what are the questions we don't know the answer to? But thinking of where we're headed in this conversation right now, I have to assume one of those questions nobody knows the answers to is how much are you going to pay in taxes? How much could you potentially save in taxes in retirement?
Yeah. The ones that people don't know answers to the most part are, what is inflation on your life? How much will your life inflate? That's one of the biggest ones. And it surprises people quite a bit because everybody says, and whenever we talk about inflation, we always have used a historical number of about 3%, right? That's the historical inflation rate. And then I say, all right, well, that's great. How many of your expenses inflate at 3%? Well, my whole thing does. Well, unless you've got a really bad mortgage, your mortgage doesn't inflate at 3%.
Got it. Okay.
And in case you have a bad car note, otherwise your car doesn't go up by 3%. Right. So if you have a mortgage and you
fixed rate loans should not inflate.
Yes. Okay. And that's generally the biggest expenses we have outside of like groceries.
Right.
And so if you have a, $2,000 mortgage that doesn't inflate, well then a big chunk of your investments don't inflate, but the rest do. And so we need to know those numbers.
Okay.
But then on top of that, it's the amount of money that you will pay in your life in taxes and the effect of that on your long-term sustainability of your portfolio. So when someone comes in and we say, all right, how much do you need to live? And like I said, they say 5,000 and we do the digging. We say, well, to get the 5,000, you need $7,000 a month. And we run those numbers out and we say, all right, well, based on that, I know they come in here with a spreadsheet and they say, based on this and based on market returns, I should have money for the next 40 years. And then when we build in taxes, it'll show them running out of money in 15 years. Not because I want that to happen, but I kind of said, you just need clean information. And when I say, how long are your taxes going to be this? Well, probably the rest of my life. I say, well, that's not true because in 2026, we already know that it's written into law that taxes are going back to where they were before the Tax and Jobs Act. So taxes are going to go up in 2026. In 2.5 years, taxes are going up. So it's not a matter of if they're going up. It's not even a matter of when they're going up. The only question is how much do they go up? So we can build some scenarios and run some analysis where we say, if taxes just go up a little bit like they're supposed to, this is the effect on your portfolio. And then we run that and we say, now it's not 15 years, it's 12 years till you run out of money. Not that we want them to run out of money, but if you don't put clean information into the spreadsheet or the planner, you're going to get bad information out of the spreadsheet and the planner. So we want to make sure that we've got all those things accounted for. Looking at taxes over your life, if you choose to max out and do some things like Roth conversion, long-term capital gain strategies, paying lower taxes than income tax, sometimes you can benefit by selling stock and paying at a lower rate than if you took income out of your IRAs. And it's kind of a unique conversation, and it's a little heavy for the podcast, but having someone who knows to look at your whole portfolio, your whole position, and your life goals, that will help shape the tax strategies for the future. If you have someone who comes in and they say, listen, I've been desk locked for the last 30 years. I'm traveling the world for the next 10. Okay, that's a specific plan. It's going to be more expensive, and therefore we need to account for it. Other times people come in and they say, I was a pilot. I've traveled the world as a salesman. I did this, that. I've been all over. I just want to set up shop up north in the summertime, and I want to go down south in the wintertime. And it's very low key. Okay, it's a lot less expensive, and we can also do some different strategies. But making sure that it fits who you are and what you want your retirement life to look like, knowing that taxes can be paid when it's more advantageous to you, and also making sure that if something happens to you and your spouse, that the government doesn't just come through and rip a bunch of the money away from your family, that it, as much as possible, gets to your kids and stays out of the government hands. That's always a big part of the strategy.
Sure, of course. We
just had this the other day with a client who came in, and as we sat down with them, they were adamant. These are smart people. And they said, we know this is how much we spend a month. I mean, and very few people come in down to the number.
Okay.
They never come down to the T. They're always like, oh, it's probably this and that.
Yeah.
And then I say, go look at your bank statements. And they come back and say, wow, we were way off. We spent a lot more money than we thought.
Yeah.
Very rarely do people spend less than they think.
Sure.
But they came in and they said, here's our number. And I said, okay, where'd you get that number from? We ran this. And they did a lot of the heavy lifting up front.
Okay.
And just by calculating in taxes, it shifted their whole portfolio by about 10, 12 years. Where now,
and not in their favor, it shifted it back.
Correct. It took away years off their longevity of their money. So, and I said, you've not done anything wrong, but this is why we need to build a tax strategy. And so when they come in extremely confident with their numbers, and I say, here's the good news. You're going to leave here confident with numbers. We just have to make them accurate.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And so we fixed those. Those are the two big things, the inflation numbers and the tax numbers. And how do you fix tax numbers? Well, it sounds almost like sketchy, like you're running two sets of books. Like, oh, we're going to fix these tax numbers,
Right.
Like of an old, 30s mob movie, we're going to fix the books.
But also understanding that isn't the current tax law like thousands and thousands and thousands of pages?
Well, yeah.
Like that's how you have to think about it. Like if they can write that many pages in laws, then you need to understand what those laws are and how you can use them to your advantage.
Well, and it's funny because when I took my CFP exam or my Series 65, either one, any of these big exams you take to be in an industry, you study for months you do all this research and all this preparation. And then you go to work and use about 2% of it because they're like, well, we need you prepared for any situation. I was like, who works at a job where they have to handle every single situation that could ever possibly come up? Nobody does. I don't, our average investor is about 65, 66 years old. So as a result, I know that space extremely well. I don't do day trading. I don't do options. I don't do margin calls. I don't do high leverage risk. I do stable, consistent tax planning and investment strategies because that's what our clientele want. And so in the same way, these tax codes have all these rules, all these laws, all these things they're going to sunset or stay or change the way businesses run and how 401ks work and all that. And it's all good to know. But at the end of the day, there's this great rule of what's called the is, does, means test. What is it? What does it do? But really all I care about is what does it mean to the rest of my life? And so when we do these strategies, like when I sat down with that couple, I said, it's not a matter of you're doing the numbers wrong. We just need to give you all the information to make sure you're doing them right. And by the time we went through, and this wasn't a quick 20-minute fix.
Right.
They had some very complicated things. They had sold some properties. They had a trust involved. They had some family members involved. And it's complicated. And that's why it's not even just us here at the office. We have our CPAs that are on retainer. We have elder law attorneys that are on retainer. So we go through and we do a lot of this vetting, and then we sit back down with them a week later and say, here's the good news. We've brought together the super team, and we figured out these answers. And here is what we need to do moving forward. So as easy as sitting down, having that initial conversation, and then having us do the heavy lifting. So afterwards, they went from, oh my gosh, we've screwed it all up. We sold the rental. We shouldn't have done that. We've done this. We shouldn't have done that. Being able to sit down with them and say, that's not the issue. And what's done is done. We're not going to dwell on that. We're going to use taxes to your advantage. Use the laws. Again, the laws are there. The rules are there. You just want to play to the best of your ability. So we use our team to make sure you win the game. And that's what we do.
LifePlanWealth.com is our website. You can go there anytime. Click on the Start Your Retirement Roadmap Today button. It's right there at the top of the screen, and begin your own conversation with Mike and his team at LifePlan Wealth, because the whole idea, having that information, is what it's all about. And then using the information, the resources, factoring that into your own personal equation to discover how you can better position yourself so you don't run out of money is what it all boils down to. When you show up at your retirement doorstep, I like that line you were talking about. It's like, it's complicated. Of course it's complicated. You've been living for 65, 70 years. Like, you show up at retirement and you got to kind of uncomplicate things. That's the whole point of having this plan in place. You break it down and simplify it and streamline everything so that you can go forward with confidence in your retirement years. And that's, of course, what Mike and his team are here to help you figure out. Again, our website, LifePlanWealth.com.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit LifePlanWealth.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.